running up the score. Jerry.
He just sucks.
He's not good.
let's just put it out on the table. He's not a good quarterback.
Oh, way to join a team that already won a title.
You know, Ben is unique. These guys are unique. They're championship runs. I mean, this one's unique.
Let's hope some people still get thrown at and, get hit in baseball.
Keep it interesting,
right?
Yeah.
I can't take this guy serious right now.
I dare you to watch it and tweet us. Tell us, oh, you know what? This is a hell of a sport.
Where's this been all my life?
The New York Jets you know what they need to do with their second round pick? They need to just start taking it and lighting it up on fire.
Where's that quarter? Let me look at that one more time.
This is Running Up the Score. And it starts now.
All right, it's time to run up the score. Running up the score with Jerry Napoleonello. 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. Brought to you by Yell5 Sports App. We are live from the CSB studios in Westbury, New York on Zeno Live. Once again, there's no Anthony here. We were hoping to get him in here this week, but he couldn't make it this week. But next, I'm hoping to do it regularly because we were talking about how, me and Anthony were probably going to do it together every other week. It's a long drive for him and, whatnot. But I think we might start doing I guess kind of like a simulcast. Like you'll see him, he'll be doing it from his house. I'll be doing it from here. And then eventually I'll be doing it from my house as well. So hopefully we can bring him back for the next couple of weeks and so on after that. We're not live on Periscope, and I'm not even live really. Technically, I'm not even live on Zeno Live right now. The times for the show kind of changed, so I kind of got handcuffed. So, there's no, basically nothing's live. So this is actually a podcast now. Usually I turn a live show into a podcast later on. But this time I'm starting off as a podcast. So, I guess, I'm really trying to get this show pushed along. Yell5, the sports app, I spoke to, the head over there. They said that they're doing so well right now that, they had to bring on other people and stuff like that to accommodate for the amount of people that are using the app. So that's great. On that end, I'm hoping, for nothing but the best for Yell5 Sports app, and hopefully we can keep this partnership going on down the road. But, we have so much to get to because I haven't been here in a couple of weeks, really. We've been, me and Anthony have been on, totally different schedules. It's been rough trying to get in here. That's why I'm trying to get something in my house so that I can really, make it easier because then I could do it later. Usually here in this studio, they really close at like 7-ish. So, I usually try to get the last spot because, Anthony works, I work, it all depends on the timing. Kevin worked as well. So I'm hoping, if I can get it to my house, all three of us might be able to do the show. But again, I missed a bunch of things. Memorial Day. I hope everybody had a good Memorial Day. It's basically the summer now. This weather has been crazy. I have to say that. One day it's 90 and then the next day it's 68. Like yesterday was kind of cold in New York. It was pretty cold in New York. The other day, we thought it was supposed to rain. Next thing you know, it's 92. it's been crazy, and I've been working a lot lately. I work for TV shows and movies and stuff like that, as part of the crew. For those types of things, a show that I worked on just aired their first episode, the pilot episode, on Sunday. It's called Succession on HBO. Check that out, 10 o'clock every Sunday. I worked on Ray Donovan lately. I was working on this other TV show, The Sinner. They're in season 2 as well. So, go check those out. Remember that I worked on them. And, if that, coffee cup is on the table, you know who did it. But there's so much to get to now because, like I said, I haven't been here in a while. So there was things that I wanted to touch on here and there. When it comes down to not coming into the studio and not putting down a show every week, if I miss a week here and there, I try to give some of my insight that I would have said on the show. I try to use it on Twitter. So go follow us on Twitter at RUTS Sports. You can follow us on Instagram as well. There's going to be a lot of different, pictures that I think I'm going to start doing. I finally got Photoshop, so, I love messing around with that kind of stuff. Definitely go follow on both Instagram and Twitter. Send us questions, send us topics, whatever it is. I said that to the guy from Yelphi as well. Send us some of the fans over there. The people that are, that like watching sports also like to argue sports. I mean, that's what sports is all about. It's arguing sports. Nobody, not many people are going to sit there and you're not really going to agree on a lot of things when it comes to sports. And that's what makes sports radio and sports talk so great. I mean, we're sitting here. It's like, two guys sitting here just, having a regular conversation about sports. I'm going to give you my opinion. And if you don't like my opinion, I want you to come back at me and let me know that you don't like it. And you give me your opinion, and I'll tell you that I don't like it. So, just keep going back and forth. That's what I love about sports radio. So, follow on Twitter, RUTS Sports. Follow on Instagram, RUTS Sports. Call in 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. Topics, questions, you want to shout out, whatever it is. I'm going to be starting this. It's kind of like a campaign kind of thing. So basically, I'm going to start selling shirts, for the show. I have to kind of sell like 5 by a certain date so that I can finally, continue to sell the rest of the shirts. So, when you do see that, you'll see it on Twitter. You'll see it on Instagram. When I do finally push those along, buy something. Please buy something. I'm trying to make them look nice that people would want to wear them. Represent running up the score. So, as I said, we had a lot to get to today. Obviously not going to get to everything. There's some topics that I can bring up next week, so I'll do that with Anthony so I can get his opinion on some things as well. But, we might as well start off with the playoffs. We have both finals here, the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Finals. And boy, oh boy, have they been good. We're through 2 games in the NBA Finals. And controversy is, not even the word to explain how this first 2 games of these finals have gone. I said that, if Cleveland ended up playing the Warriors, that the Warriors would probably mop the floor with them and would probably sweep. I'm still on that track. Maybe not mopping the floor with them. I mean, last game they basically mopped the floor with them because the fourth quarter came around. Steph Curry really stepped up. I mean, 16 points in the fourth quarter in Game 2. Making acrobatic circus shots. It broke a record for the most threes in a finals game with 9. They win 122 to 103 in Game 2. This when it comes down to the 4-minute mark and the Cleveland Cavaliers are emptying the bench, that's when you know it's bad. Game 1 was the talk. I mean, everybody's still talking about Game 1. So it came down to George Hill shooting 2 from the free throw line. I think it was like 30-something seconds left, I think it was even less. And all George Hill had to do was make 2, and they have the lead. He makes the first one. It's a tie game. The second one clangs off of the rim. J.R. Smith grabs the rebound. Now, usually, for someone that's using their brain, they put it either back up, call a timeout, whatever. But no. He runs out the clock. So now they finally come out with footage of LeBron James and J.R. Smith and George Hill on the bench. And at some point in that video, now LeBron James is not saying a thing on the bench. Then it gets to a point where Ty Lue is walking to the bench to talk to the team, setting them up for overtime. So you see LeBron say, "We had no timeouts," as a question. And obviously Ty Lue tells him, "Yeah, we did have timeouts." And you can see he's visibly upset. Visibly upset. And I don't blame him. I mean, I've heard some people say that that's a problem for LeBron James, what he did at that point. I don't think so. I think the problem was after the game in the press conference. And I'll get to that in a second. But you can see he's visibly upset. And by all means, he should be. That was a boneheaded play by J.R. Smith. How do you not know what the score is? It is the NBA Finals. It is Game 1, and you are such a huge underdog in this finals matchup. And you are about to steal Game 1 on the road. If you just knew what the score was. Now, by all means, if he put the ball up right away, missed the shot, then that's another story. But now that he walked out the clock, and then they end up losing the game eventually in overtime by 10. Now, don't get me wrong. The game was not over with J.R. Smith running out the clock. They still had a whole overtime to win the game. So I'm not blaming this whole loss on J.R. Smith. I'm not blaming this whole loss on the refs. They still had a chance to win in overtime. But they didn't. And the whole block and charge kind of thing, it was a block. Let's be serious. Come on. So, you can't put it all on J.R. Smith, but it was a boneheaded play. And it is upsetting if you're a Cavs fan or a Cavaliers player, as in LeBron. But I didn't have a problem with him being visibly upset on the bench because that's, you understand that. It's, you're in the NBA now. You're in the NBA Finals. How do you not know what the score is? So moving on from that, then you go into the press conference. And LeBron's talking, yeah, they are stupid questions. But I mean, in reality, if you really sit back and listen to the press conferences, not many people do. But, unfortunately For me, working at SiriusXM and working in the sports newsroom, that's stuff that we have to do. Yeah, if the game's over, the game's over. Yeah, other people, they just turn off the game. You put on the next channel. You put on a movie or whatever. I have to sit there and put the audio of the press conference into the system, and then I have to cut it up. So I'm constantly listening to press conferences. You cannot tell me that in these press conferences that they are good questions. They are terrible questions. They are annoying questions. They are stupid questions. And I understand why you would get, upset about that. But you cannot walk off. I don't care who you are. And the fact that we still rip Cam Newton for walking off after losing in the Super Bowl because he got dumb questions. Why is this a double standard now? Why are we saying, oh, LeBron James is just upset, he's been carrying this team, and it's just they're just stupid questions that he's got to answer. But then when it comes down to Cam Newton, oh, well, he's being childish. He's a sore loser. He's this, he's that. But why are we commending LeBron James? Why aren't we ripping LeBron James? Because he's LeBron James? That's ridiculous. I think that whole thing is stupid. I think we should be ripping LeBron James right now for walking off. And then Tristan Thompson does the same thing in Game 2. He walks off. And I know this is not a press conference. It's not, he's not at the podium. It was basically a scrum in the locker room. And they were asking him, basically, do you feel helpless when Steph Curry is playing the way that he was playing in Game 2? And that is actually a good question. Because the amount of shots, the kind of shots, the toughness of the shots that Steph Curry was making, you have to feel helpless. So the fact that he was offended by that question and he walked off from that, first of all, you're Tristan Thompson. Who are you to walk off? Cam Newton, LeBron James, yeah, you're the top player on those two teams. It's understandable. You're doing what you got to do to help your team win. You're putting the team on your back. So when you get to that point where it didn't happen, it didn't work, and you're getting a question that's dumb, and you walk off, I understand it. But don't rip one from the other. Now, on the other hand, Tristan Thompson, you're a nobody. Let's be serious. You are a nobody, and you have no right to walk away from that post scrum or whatever you want to call it. That is a good question. Did you feel helpless with Steph Curry making the shots that he was making? That is a good question. And I understand it. So we got Game 3. Now the other thing is with the finals. So we had Game 1 was, I believe, we had Game 2 was Monday. Game 1 was probably Friday, I want to say. Let's see. I don't like this whole, space in between these games. Now, Game 1 was, I can't find it, but the fact that we're having 1 or 2 days in between these games is ridiculous. I think it might have been Thursday, and then the next game was Sunday. How does that happen? How do we have Game 1 and then Game 2 3 days later? They're in the same. It's not a travel day. So now we got Game 3 Wednesday. It's not even tonight. It's Wednesday. And then we got Game 4 on Friday. So this whole gap thing with the NBA is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We are 4 games through the Stanley Cup Finals. They basically started at the same time, or they should have started at the same time, because the conference finals were both at the end at the same time. So that's my quick rant about the scheduling things. But, this losing the finals, again, tarnished some of LeBron's legacy. Because now I believe it would be 6 losses. Or, something like that. Yeah, it would be, because this is his 9th appearance, and he's won 3. Yeah, so it would be 6 losses in the finals. Now, does that tarnish some of his legacy? And I know that you're going to tell me I'm a hater, and you know that I'm a LeBron hater. I am. I'm glad to say it. I will say it. I am a LeBron hater. So, yes, losing again in the finals will tarnish his legacy. Absolutely. And was there a difference if he would have lost in the conference finals to the NBA finals? I don't know. I really don't know. But when you really look at this series, now, is there a difference between losing via a sweep, a gentleman's sweep? For those of you that don't know what a gentleman's sweep is, it's when the team wins one game and then ends up losing the next, and they lose the series 4-1. Or going 6 or 7. I think it would help his legacy a little bit more if he went 6 or 7 games. If this is a sweep, it's going to be a rough one for LeBron. Now, all of these scenarios, I think, play into how this summer is going to be. So everybody knows that LeBron James could end up going somewhere else after the season. So you have the teams, you have the Rockets, you have the Sixers, you have the Lakers, you have the Cavaliers. Where does he go after the season? And it's basically the summer of LeBron. But where does he go? I think this whole Brian Colangelo thing with the Sixers and just the Sixers all together, I think he stays away from. Him and Ben Simmons are the same type of player. Ben Simmons is not anywhere close to what LeBron James is. I understand that. But they're the same type of player. They need the ball in their hands. They like to facilitate. All of that. The Lakers are up there, I would have to say. He lives in L.A. There's so much stuff in this series that plays into a role that's going to happen in the summer. Now, Cleveland, they get swept. I think it is a 99.9% chance that LeBron James is not coming back to Cleveland. This team that he has is pretty brutal. It is pretty brutal. But the East is so goddamn easy. I mean, come on now. So, I think Boston, if they would have had Kyrie or Hayward, I think they would have beat Cleveland. But yeah, I think a sweep and a gentleman's sweep, I think, will hurt his his legacy a little bit. But now talking about a legacy that's actually going to be going up here on the ice, Alex Ovechkin. I mean, the narrative for the Washington Capitals is basically the same as the baseball team Washington Nationals, as they call them, the Washington Crashionals. The Washington Capitals it was almost a lock that they were never going to get to this point. And right now, the Washington Nationals are 1 game away from winning the Stanley Cup. Alex Ovechkin has been playing his ass off. He's been playing wonderfully in every single series this playoffs. And that's always been a knock on him, that he didn't play well in the playoffs, or, he never got to that Stanley Cup. He never won that Stanley Cup. That's the difference between him and Sidney Crosby. I understand that. First of all, Sidney Crosby has had unreal teams. And don't get me wrong, the Capitals have had unreal teams too. They've been 1 seeds that they just totally crashed in the playoffs. I understand that. But, I mean, Sidney Crosby had like other level type teams. But also the Vegas Golden Knights, I mean, their first season, making it to the Stanley Cup Finals. A lot of people say the reason why they got so good was because usually when there's an expansion draft, there's at least 2 teams. So these players are split into 2 teams. They're getting this year, this past, offseason, they got all these players to themselves. So, I think they've been playing unbelievably. I think having hockey in Vegas now is unreal. I think the way that the city is taking in the Golden Knights is amazing. They have such a bright future, really. And do I think that this would have been bad for hockey if they would have won the Stanley Cup? I don't think so. I think it's actually good for hockey. I mean, to see a team like that, people are rooting for the Golden Knights. Teams that, fans of teams that, did not make it or did make it to the playoffs and lost. People are rooting for the Golden Knights. Yeah, I was rooting for the Golden Knights at first, but then Alex Ovechkin got into the Stanley Cup, and I think he deserves it. He deserves it. He's been a top player his whole career, and he's always had that knock towards him that he's no Sidney Crosby because he's never won a cup. And I think this is finally the time that Alex Ovechkin will win the cup and he will help his legacy. He's a Hall of Fame hockey player. We already know that. He is an all-time, great scorer. So I think this is something that hockey needs. I think hockey needs the Capitals to win this. Just to see Alex Ovechkin, one of the top players, if not the top player. Everybody argues that, Sidney Crosby, whatever. And the young talent now coming up in hockey is unreal too. But the conference finals, a couple of weeks ago, the Knights, and everybody knows, you don't touch the conference finals trophy. You don't. That is the superstition of hockey. You do not touch the conference finals trophy. The Golden Knights touched it. The Golden Knights walked it around the ice. So Dave Englund, he was like, oh, superstition, screw that. Let's pick this bad boy up and walk it around the ice. Now, do I think that's the problem? That they're losing 3-1 right now? I don't know. Is it a coincidence? I don't know. But, I mean, just this series has been great. Can we get enough of Doc Emrick? I mean, come on. This guy is the best broadcaster in all of sports. I don't care what anybody says. Anybody could fight me on that. Doc Emrick is the best broadcaster in sports. The best. The way that he calls hockey games. Now listen. This is how you know he's the best. Hockey, out of at least the 4 major sports, hockey is most definitely the hardest sport to announce. It's the hardest sport to do play-by-play. All right, because with baseball is very cut and dry. The one thing that you need for baseball, you need to fill dead air. That's the biggest thing with baseball. You need to fill dead air. So if you're a good improv type person, Baseball's perfect for you. Football, you basically, you have the same players in the spots that they're supposed to be. So you have your quarterback, you have your wide receivers, you have your running back. We already know who they are. When you look at hockey is so fast, so nonstop. You have 4 or 5 lines of different players. Then you got 3 or 4 lines of defensemen. It is so fast, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the fact that he basically, and the way that I describe Doc Emmerich to people, you can sit there watching a hockey game and then close your eyes and just listen to Doc Emmerich, and you can picture exactly where they are on the ice, who has the puck, what is he doing with the puck, is he about to shoot the puck, is he, does he have his back to the net, whatever it is. You can literally close your eyes and see what he's telling you. He is the perfect radio play-by-play. He is the perfect TV play-by-play. He is the perfect broadcasting person in all of sports. I love listening to that guy. I love it. So when I get back from the break, we had a little issue in the Yankee game with Giancarlo Stanton. Brought back bad memories for him, and he showed it up. And then I want to kind of break off of that to another incident, and then kind of go to a broad range of how I feel about this one topic in baseball. Then, we'll get into, some other things like, Mark Teixeira's comments on Robinson Cano. The Islanders finally get a GM. We got some horse racing this weekend on Long Island, Belmont, about 5 minutes from my house. So I want to get into that. Johnny Manziel signed with the team. NFL? I don't know. So we'll get into all of that when we get back. You're listening to Running Up the Score.
All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Hey, this is Jerry Napoleonello, host of Running Up the Score. We are live once every week at 7 p.m. Eastern, where we hit on all the top headlines in the world of sports. You can also find us on Stitcher, iTunes, and those of you that like the visual aspect, check us out on YouTube. Running Up the Score. We run up the score on Sports Radio.
Cyberstation USA is the future of radio. Get your business into the online future at the world's largest internet radio station. From banner placement on our homepage to any of our broadcaster stages, commercials on our video player, audio spots on any of our shows, or at the beginning of any of our on-demand broadcasts. Cyberstation USA offers competitive rates with a worldwide reach. A fully integrated one-stop shop social media broadcast platform. For more information, please contact our sales department at Cameo at cyberstationusa.com.
Now back to Running Up the Score. Here's Jerry.
All right, first call in at 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. You can also follow and tweet us at RUTS Sports, as well as follow us on Instagram at RUTS Sports. Check out our website, www.rutsports.weebly.com. So we had some kind of breaking news. I mean, at least it's breaking news to me. Dave Gettleman, who just recently was hired by the New York Giants, I don't know if it just came out that he has lymphoma or that they came out with that, previously, and now they're saying that he's going to be going through treatment for that. But, the news came out that, he's going to be starting treatment for lymphoma. And that he doesn't intend to step down, so that's huge for the Giants, and huge for Dave Gettleman too, that he feels that he can go through with that while battling lymphoma. So prayers to Dave Gettleman and his family through this time. As much as I hate the Giants, I would never wish anything, bad upon, any of their players like that or personnel or whatever. So prayers to Dave Gettleman on hopefully getting through the treatment and, coming out on top. Moving on, we had also the whole, Trump, banning or taking away the invite of the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not going to get into it. There's so many people talking about it. I don't like getting into politics. I don't care what anybody says. It's something that you should do. No, I don't care. I'm not getting into politics. It's only going to piss people off. And I just go like at work, we're at work and this one guy, he's talking about like politics and stuff like that, and he likes politics. I understand that. And I just pulled him to the side. I was like, listen, if just advice, don't talk about politics. Politics is something that nobody ever is going to agree on. Nobody is ever, going to be like, oh, you know what? I know what you're saying. That's true. Yeah, no, it doesn't work like that. People are so thick-headed when it comes to politics that, it just starts problems. So I'm not going to get into it. I don't agree with the Eagles not going to the White House. So that's all I'm going to say. That's just how I feel. I'm not getting into it. So, moving on, baseball, okay? So, the Yankees are playing well. They're still in second behind the Red Sox. It's going to be a very, very good race this year with the Yankees and the Red Sox. And then, you throw in teams. You throw in some other teams that, are just going to be there as well. The Houston Astros, if not, will be on top. The Cleveland Indians, like I was saying, the AL is going to be such a good playoffs that I'm excited for the playoffs in baseball. I know we're not even at the All-Star break. I understand that. I'll get into the All-Star break as well. But, going into some other things, we had the Yankee game yesterday. They played a doubleheader, day-night doubleheader against the Detroit Tigers. The Yankees have a lot of games that they have to make up. They have a bunch of doubleheaders coming up. But we had the first game, or actually it was the second game. Mike Fiers, pitcher for Detroit, used to pitch for Milwaukee. And if you notice with Giancarlo Stanton, he wears it like it's kind of like the new thing. Now you're seeing all the young players coming up with it. It's a face protector that attaches to the helmet. So you see that on Giancarlo Stanton. The reason that he's wearing that is because of Mike Fiers. Mike Fiers hit him in the mouth while he was with Milwaukee and Stanton was with the Miami Marlins. I think it was 2 years ago. I think it might have been 2016. So pitch comes up and in, hits Stanton. Stanton didn't like it. It basically was a flashback to him getting hit in the mouth, and it just happens to be Mike Fiers. So next at bat, Fiers pitching to Stanton, and Stanton launches a 456-foot home run. He walks a little bit, tosses the bat, nice little bat flip, comes back around, steps on home, points to Mike Fiers. So Mike Fiers didn't like that, and you'll hear what he had to say after. But this is what, Stanton had to say in the post-game scrum, and this is what Mike Fiers had to say as well. It'll be simultaneously. Well, not simultaneously. It'll be continuously after each other. So this is what they both had to say.
When Fiers hit you, does that just spark old memories for you?
Yeah, if it's going to come up and in like that, then yeah, it does. Wasn't trying to hit me in that situation, but still, with the history like it, what happened, don't hit me.
Is there any better revenge than a 456-foot homer?
It was nice. Win would be better, but oh well.
Did you get your elbow pad there?
Forearm.
Forearm?
Yeah.
Did you have thoughts of actually going to the mound, or you were just walking and you just wanted to get a couple of things off your chest?
Yeah, say what you need to say and, get to the next guy. Hopefully we can get some runs going and, not stir anything up that's not trying to help us win at the end of the day.
Like a point? Did you point at him?
Yeah, I did. Why not?
Is that one of your better bat flips of all time?
Sure.
Do you expect, if you do face him again, whether
it doesn't matter. We'll get there when we get there, and when we are there, it won't matter either. So.
What was the message in the point?
Get the point.
You were surprised by the exchange, weren't you? Not really surprised. I mean, like I said, I understand the history, and I understand that it was a bad moment for him a while ago. So, I understand he's upset, but I just think the way he handled it after is, I don't know, a little childish.
Are you talking the childish part, like pointing to you after the home run, or before when you hit him?
I don't know. Just, yeah, I mean, getting his revenge and, throwing his bat and pointing, I mean... That's not part of this game. I mean, yeah, you're supposed to have fun, but I mean, I think that's kind of childish. But I understand he was happy at that point, and he got me back. But I mean, whatever.
Would you have liked to face him again if you could have, if the game would have allowed it?
Yeah, I mean, we go to New York too, so I might have to pitch there. So I got to pitch to him just like I pitched to everybody else. So I mean, I might have to face him again.
So. He says it's childish. This is what Fiers said. He said it was childish. So, my question was, pimping home runs and showing excitement on the mound, is it good or bad for baseball? Now, I also had an example of something that happened a couple of weeks ago between the Reds and the Cubs. Now, it was the opposite. Javi Baez was struck out by, I forget who it was. He used to play for, I want to say Stony Brook or St. John's. It was a Long Island or city type school, but I forget who it was. But he struck out Javi Baez and gave him a nice little, scream kind of thing towards him. That started a whole little scuffle. So to me, and I'm always about this kind of stuff. I was about Jose Bautista tossing the bat the way he did. I was about Jabba Chamberlain showing his excitement on the mound. I'm about, a whole bunch of other guys. I think, who else, does stuff like that? You have the one pitcher. Why am I drawing a blank now? He does the arrow, everything. You know, that's like, what are you supposed to be, a robot? Like, you're not supposed to show any kind of excitement towards doing something good in the sport. I mean, all these players in football, they get a sack, they dance. They deflect a pass, they dance. They score a touchdown, they dance. They get a first down, a 2-yard first down, they dance. No one says anything about that. I understand. Now, I love it, but I hate it when you're down. That I understand. But when it comes to, a Giancarlo Stanton part, yeah, they were down. But the way it was, I agreed with it. I liked it. That you're just showing how passionate you are about it. And not one guy is going to take that away. If you want to hit me, go ahead and hit me. But the next time I face you, I'm going to take you deep. And that's what he did. And you know what? I'm down with, how he showed his excitement, how he pimped that home run. The point was even better. I thought that's just like a great thing. Listen, I'm all for, and like you can even hear it in the intro. Me and Tom agreed with it as well. I'm for benches clearing. I'm for brawls. I'm for pimping home runs. I'm for showing excitement on the mound. I mean, everything, showing your excitement just shows your passion for the sport, just shows your passion for your team, just shows your passion for winning. That's what you want out of a team. When you're a fan of a team, that's what you want. You want your players to be excited. You want your players to show that kind of excitement. So I'm for all this stuff. Do I think it was childish? Absolutely not. If you don't want him to pimp the home run, if you don't want him to point at you, strike him out. Get him out. That's on you. You gave up the home run. You cannot, complain if you're the one giving up the home run. If you're the one striking out, that the pitcher is jumping up and down. That's your fault. That's not his fault. He's doing what he's got to do. That's your fault for not doing what you got to do. So don't come out and say, "Oh, that's childish. Oh, that it's bad for baseball." No. It's good for baseball. You know what? If you don't want to see it, don't let it happen. So I'm all about this kind of stuff. I'm all about stare downs. I'm all about brawls. I'm all about pimping home runs. I'm all about showing excitement on the mound. I'm all about that stuff. So in the next couple of weeks, we'll probably even start it next week. We're going to start this, new segment where they got it wrong. And it's basically going to be us finding clips from the week before or the week of sports radio, sports TV, all these hosts or whatever, saying stuff that we don't agree with. And we'll give you the reason why we don't agree with it. So, I haven't come up with a name for this segment yet, but you're going to see that. And if you have any ideas, if you heard something outrageous from a host or, a radio host or a TV host or whatever, and you think that we would disagree with it, send it to me on Twitter, send it to me on Facebook, send it to me on Instagram, whatever it is. Tag me in it if you see the video, whatever it is. That's what I want. I want to get as much as we can, in weeks, and we'll just, rip them apart. That's the best part of it. We'll just rip them apart. So I wanted to get into a little bit of this. I'm not a big horse racing fan kind of thing. Working at Sirius, now I go through the three major races, with the Preakness, the Kentucky Derby, and the Belmont Stakes. we cut those races and stuff like that. So we have the last leg of the Triple Crown, Belmont Stakes, right on Long Island, 2 minutes from my house. We have Justify. I think it's Justify, right? Yeah. Going for the Triple Crown here. Now, we obviously saw the Triple Crown a couple of years ago with American Pharoah. Does this, and before American Pharoah, we had, the last one was years and years and years before. So, does Justify going for the Triple Crown now, does it mean as much than when American Pharoah was going for the Triple Crown? I feel like it doesn't. For some reason, I think, winning the Triple Crown is huge for horse racing. But is it as big now? Because we already saw it a couple of years ago. So, that's the question that I'm asking, because I'm sitting here and I feel like it doesn't. I feel like it's not as big as it was for American Pharoah. I feel like everybody wanted to see it happen so bad. We got to see it with American Pharoah, and now it's like, all right, we got to see it. That's it. And don't get me wrong, we're probably going to have just as much, people than we did, at that time with American Pharoah. But I feel like it's not as big now because of American Pharoah. So speaking of Belmont, the New York Islanders, who will make their home in Belmont in a couple of years, they finally hired a real GM. And his name is not Garth Snow. His name is Lou Lamoriello. Used to be the GM for the Devils, Leafs, a bunch of other teams. So it's huge. The Islanders finally made a smart move, hiring Lou Lamoriello, because not only do you finally bring in a real GM, but now you can entice, different people, different players to come in to play for the Islanders. So not only are they getting in their new home, they're getting a new GM that is known for, winning and just tradition and whatever. That's what Lou Lamoriello brings to the Islanders, and you're seeing that now. I've read where John Tavares, because now going into this offseason, that's where the problem was. But, everybody thought, the question was, is John Tavares going to end up coming back to the Islanders, or is he gone? And if he's gone, the Islanders are done. So they need John Tavares to go into this new home in Belmont, to bring people to the ice, to bring people to the arena, to watch the Islanders. And Lou Lamoriello is that guy to bring John Tavares back, to bring other top players into this team, to bring this team back to the 80s Islanders. And the first thing is signing John Tavares. So now I was reading different articles on it, and NHL executives are saying that they're worried that John Tavares is not even going to touch free agency, because even talking to other teams, they're basically, with the wording of, if we're available, if we were to sign somewhere else, this, like that, those kind of words kind of made other teams' executives like, all right, maybe he's not going to end up going anywhere. So Lou Lamoriello was talking to the agents of John Tavares way before he was hired by the Islanders, so that's huge. Hopefully there's no tampering or anything like that when it comes to that, but that's huge. Supposedly he's spoken to the representation of John Tavares for the last couple of weeks now, like almost every day. Then you also have the other leg of this Ilya Kovalchuk, who was on the Devils, signed a massive contract and then felt like going to Russia and play in Russia. He's coming back to the NHL. And before this whole Lou Lamoriello thing, he was like, all right, well, he's going to sign with the Rangers. Now bringing in Lou Lamoriello, who was the GM of the Devils when Kovalchuk was there, and Kovalchuk feels that Lou Lamoriello kind of really helped the process to get him into Russia, who was okay with the whole process and really made it an easy transition. He wants to kind of, maybe get back with Lou Lamoriello, and the Islanders now have the upper hand in signing Ilya Kovalchuk. I understand that he's 35, but if he comes to this team, other than John Tavares, he's the best player on their team. So this is huge. This is huge for the Islanders. This is huge for the Islander fans. This is huge for Long Island. I'm excited for it. Johnny Manziel signs with the team, but it's not in the NFL. He signed a 2-year deal with the CFL. He played his first game the other day. I think 11 passes, 80 yards. Did some scrambling and everything like that. He looked good. Next week I'll bring up this again, and I'll bring up, his interview before and after with Dan Patrick. Now, I've always said, just listening to the first interview a couple of weeks ago that Johnny Manziel had with Dan Patrick before he signed, and you just listen to some of the things. I even brought up a clip on here on this show about basically him saying that if the Browns would have did their homework on Johnny Manziel, they would have known, everything that would have happened. Sitting back and, being an aspiring, radio host, sports radio host, and to get an interview like that's got to make you feel amazing. I mean, to get somebody to talk like that, to get somebody to bring up things that every other radio station in the United States is going to bring up on their show, because Johnny Manziel is such a polarizing person, really. That people are going to play those clips that they heard on your show. They're going to credit your show all through the United States. I mean, that's got to make you feel good, and that's why Dan Patrick is one of the best to do it. Just what the interviews that he had with Johnny Manziel before and after signing with the CFL. I mean, it's got to make you feel good. It really has to make you feel good. How about the Mets? Talking about Johnny Manziel being a dumpster fire before, finally getting his life turned around. The Mets are a dumpster fire. And no, I literally mean dumpster fire. I mean, Citi Field was on fire. And between that and their injuries and even getting a fan giveaway wrong, I mean, the other day, how do you have a fan giveaway for Todd Frazier, a pullover, Todd Frazier? I mean, first of all, I have to say, that's a great giveaway. A pullover? I mean, who doesn't like pullovers? But how do you get that wrong? What did they get wrong? I mean, the statement came out. They never really said what was wrong on the statement, but it kind of seems like they maybe spelled his name wrong or something. I mean, that they had to give them back. They didn't hand them out. They had to remake them by the manufacturer. First of all, that probably cost them money. And, just nothing's going right for the Mets right now. There is nothing going right. I mean, DeGrom is pitching lights out right now, and he's still losing games. He's giving up 1 run and still losing games. I mean, the other day, now you look at it, and you look at the score, and it says 7-1. Then all of a sudden you look in the corner, and it said 14 innings. Now, to get into extra innings, obviously, everyone's got to know this. You go into extra innings, the game is tied. That means they scored 6 runs in an inning. And they did. They scored 6 runs in the 14th inning. In a game that DeGrom pitched a 1-run game. I think for 8 innings. And they lost 7-1 in 14 innings. The Mets are absolutely going to be sellers at the trade deadline. And it's going to be amazing to see if they get rid of any of these pitchers. I mean, you got Syndergaard hurt. You got, DeGrom spent a little time on the DL. You got Steven Matz spending time on the DL. You got Yoenis Cespedes spending time on the DL. It's brutal being a Mets fan. I feel sorry for you. I'm so glad that I'm a Yankees fan. I am so glad that I'm a Yankees fan. I mean, what the Yankees have done is remarkable. What the Mets have done is not. It is such a joke of an organization. It is an absolute joke of an organization. And I feel bad for the fans. I mean, how could you be a fan of this team? I mean, to be honest with you, if you were a Mets fan and you told me that you used to be a Mets fan and now you're a fan of a different team, I'd understand it. I'm not all about you being a front runner or anything. Listen, you got to do what you got to do. If you don't want to be a Mets fan anymore, I understand it. And if you are a Mets fan and still a Mets fan, I mean, God bless you, I guess. I don't know. But, I mean, there's so much other stuff that we're going to get into, especially next week. The Rays using a reliever to start back-to-back games. We're going to get into that, how that, if it's a good strategy or not. The All-Star game, a lot of players are coming up with some, questions about it. Then we had an NFL coach, using a condiment for strategy on telling if a player is a good player or not. Interesting. But, we'll bring back Anthony next week. We're going to do a little simulcast kind of thing. I just got to figure out how I'm going to get people to be able to see Anthony at the same time of the show. Because when it comes down to YouTube, that's fine. I can figure that out. But it's just getting, the show or to show him on Periscope or whatever. So we'll figure it out. I got a whole week to figure it out. But we'll be back next week talking sports once again. That will do it for Running Up the Score. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll be back next Monday, as I said, talking sports once again. You got any topics, questions, anything, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, @RUTS Sports. Check out our website, www.rutsports.weebly.com. I am Jerry B. Breezy.
You've been listening to Running Up the Score. We run up the score on Sports Radio.